comfortable, it's completely fine. Over to you, Manish.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, and thank you, QAI, for giving me this opportunity to present today. We're talking about peer pressure, but actually I would like to thank the speakers just before me for setting the stage. I mean, we talked about all the trends and the challenges, so you heard about the what are the challenges. I'm actually going to talk about solutions which solve all these problems. So it kind of, thanks again for setting the stage. And the topic of the presentation is unified testing in the new world of applications. What I'm going to cover is, especially the impact on quality assurance teams, the impact on QA in this new world of applications. Then I'm going to talk about the solutions, especially the new solutions that we have recently launched on top of our existing solutions. So that's going to be themed around the unified functional testing. But I also want to say that all the challenges that we are addressing today around mobility, around cloud, agile delivery, continuous delivery, shortened release cycles, the same problems are also being addressed by the performance testing solutions which we have around Load Runner Performance Center. But for the sake of this presentation and the time given to us, I'm going to focus on functional testing. Next, I'm going to talk about UFT Mobile, which is the solution that has been introduced for testing of mobile applications, and how everything comes together with ALM. And finally, I'm going to talk about DevOps and continuous delivery. So, when Syed mentioned that we should also look beyond testing, there are actually profiles or roles getting created within organizations today which are referred to as DevOps, which kind of understand not just the development and the testing, but also the infrastructure around it, the operations, and what are the solutions that we have introduced in terms of solving some of the problems for systems management, for infrastructure setup, for test environments, and to deploy applications faster in agile release cycles, which is the fundamental problem. Let's start talking about agile first, because I think that's the trend that has maybe not in, the word agile has not been used today, but everybody is talking about faster release cycles. Everybody is talking about meeting the demands of business. So there are these new methodologies out there under the umbrella of Agile Methodologies, which are there to advocate how you can deliver applications faster, how you can develop them faster. But are we sacrificing quality? And I've asked this question in other forums also, and I get a mixed response, but there is some kind of concurrence that yes, when people try to move very fast and people are adopting agile development technologies, somewhere the role of QA is getting either merged in the agile teams, or it's not as clearly demarcated as it used to be in the waterfall model. So in the agile world, what we are trying to say is that it is not necessarily going to guarantee you quality unless you address the problem of quality assurance in the agile lifecycle, so that the application comes out of good quality at the end. Then we're also talking about mobile. You heard about mobile in almost every presentation in the morning today. It is for real. I mean, all the so the forecast is that by, I think, 2014 or 15, number of applications released for mobile are going to surpass your traditional desktop applications 4:1. Again, those analyst figures. Some analysts tend to be right as well. And we'll see how this works out. But the fact is that today QA is definitely facing the pressure of mobile and how to test these applications for mobile. And I'm going to address that in this presentation. Then also there is this blurring line between developers, testers, business analysts. Again, this topic was raised earlier in the morning when there are definitely questions out there as to how much domain knowledge does a tester need, or how much a developer should be doing testing. There's this line thinning between white box testing, black box testing. There's a lot of this API testing. While earlier functional testing primarily used to mean GUI-based testing, right? You test on the GUI, and solutions like Windrunner and QTP that have been out there for more than a decade were there to solve these problems. But then when it comes to this integrated world of composite applications, some applications that talk only to applications may not have a front end, served as a service. Enterprises are adopting service buses so that they can start integrating applications at the back end, ease the business process flows. In that whole emerging scenario, how do you test? And this is where the theme of unified testing comes in. Now, if you look at the realities around us, and we again, I'll refer to some of the things that were mentioned in the morning around limited resources, right? Free up resources for testing, budgets are tighter. There are economic problems around the world, which is, I think, been there since end of 2008, when the whole financial crisis started. And I've been hearing this, do more with less for the last 4 years. So it is for real. I mean, we have to work under constraints. Business analysts, developers, they are working as part-time testers. I just talked about headless testing or API testing, which has become very pervasive today. Are we going to leave it to the developers to do the API testing, which they have been traditionally more adept at? Or is QA going to adopt that as part of what they do from a day-to-day perspective? Right? We heard about embedded system, mobile applications. All this is creating a lot of interfaces between applications, interfaces to new UIs. These UIs that need to be developed keeping in mind the user experience, especially if you're designing a mobile application. You don't expect the user to figure out his way. You basically start developing it, thinking how the user is going to use this application, how he's going to use this mobile banking application to transfer funds from one account to another. So these are things that are definitely causing new challenges today in the world of quality assurance. Agile, again, I talked about. Agile is definitely something that is causing a lot of concern as to how testing will be delivered in the agile fashion. Are we going to start automating early enough in the iterations that we do? Are we going to do big bang automation at the end? So these are all the questions that are that are posing challenges for which HP is there in the market to innovate, right? We are a provider of tools and solutions. We've been constantly innovating, keeping in mind all these challenges that are being thrown up with these new trends, and we are providing these solutions to solve these problems. And given all these challenges, again, one theme that has been emerging, and Vinod also referred to it, is integrated automation. So automation is really one way to keep up with all the pressure that QA organizations are facing today in terms of addressing the needs of the business as well as application delivery. Now, automation is not new. I mean, automation has been there for, as I said, more than a decade. Remember XRunner, then we had WinRunner, QTP, and lately we have a lot of tools in the market for functional test automation. But then there is a lot of testing that still happens manually. And then, a couple of years back, we announced HP Sprinter, which was part of Quality Center, which is a tool to aid manual testing. I'll have a slide on that. So it helps you do test creation, test authoring, test execution. And then, the way automated testing works, it actually takes away the burden of test execution. It's not as time consuming. So once you have automated your test cases, the test execution becomes very, very easy. But HP has a maturity model even for test automation. And if you look at the later part of this slide, when it comes to velocity, delivering things faster, component-based testing is picking up. So we have introduced business process testing as part of Quality Center. Some of you might be aware a couple of years back, but how that has now been unified into functional testing using UFT, which is the latest version 11.5. And then we've also worked with some of our key partners. I would like to name Turnkey for one, who develops accelerators. So we are now working closely from an R&D perspective with them to serve you these accelerators for packaged applications, which not just take away the burden of test creation, test execution, but also help you. They give you pre-packaged test cases for known environments like SAP, Oracle, PeopleSoft, etc. So you're kind of taking away the pain of all the activities in the automation framework, using this maturity model. So this is the overview of the HP Unified Functional Testing Solution, and this diagram in the middle is what I'm going to illustrate upon over the course of this presentation. But surrounding this, I mean, you see that we are addressing the problem of agile delivery, continuous release cycles, and then these are applications which are served through the cloud, through either traditional infrastructure. It really doesn't matter where the application today resides. You need to address the testing needs in this complex world of applications which we call as the new world of applications. And the key things, let me just touch upon the key things here. One of the fundamental, and this is actually a big release for us, UFT 11.5. You might have heard of UFT in the past when we were still serving up QTP and service test as two different products, and they worked independently. You installed them independently. But in this release, it has become one product. So, and this is, again, keeping in mind the need of the market. So today you have business processes which are very complex, which might need to be tested at a UI layer, but then you also might have to test at the API layer. You might have to test something in the database, like you mentioned. You might have India on the UI, but you might have one in the database. And how do you have a business process flow tested in a way that you are able to combine headless testing as well as GUI-based testing into one tool? And this is, the UI of QTP itself has been completely, or UFT rather, has been completely refreshed. It looks like a complete IDE environment now. It's got projects, solution areas. You can work on multiple scripts at the same time. So absolutely enhanced. It's a delight. Customers have given us great reviews in the beta. It's been announced last month, and within a couple of days, it will be available for you. UFT Mobile is another addition that we have in our product line. So, given the legacy with all the big, large enterprise customers today using UFT as a primary test automation tool, where do they go for testing of mobile applications? So, keeping that in mind, we provide you again, the same interface that will help you test mobile applications. And then Sprinter, which was primarily meant for manual testing and increasing the efficiency of manual testing, has been further integrated into the UFT framework, so you can automate the test cases which were being executed manually in Sprinter. All of that comes with ALM integration or QC integration, and I'm also going to touch upon virtualization, service virtualization, how that has gained importance in the world of composite applications. And then it certainly drives all the benefits around simplified user experience, drives automation adoption. In fact, one of the things I'm going to talk about is UFT Insight, which is image-based recognition, and that's going to really help you speed up the time it takes to develop automated test cases. And I also want to mention that it now supports continuous integration process, especially if you're working in an agile framework. You're adopting continuous integration tools like Hudson and Jenkins, and a lot of these white box tests, especially like unit tests, are fired through the continuous integration server itself. The same thing around functional testing can also be fired up through the continuous integration server with integration into Jenkins. Okay, so let's start talking about the different pieces here. Sprinter, as I just mentioned, is the manual testing tool. A lot of new enhancement in Sprinter itself. You have defect scanners for compliance, W3C compliance, spell checks. It already had advanced features for data injection, exploratory testing, test authoring. But then it's been further enhanced, and as I mentioned, it integrates into the UFT framework, the Unified Functional Testing Framework, to help you test faster, more accurate, make results more predictable. So this is an enlarged version of that image. So I talked about Sprinter, but then let me just focus on UFT, which is the Unified Functional Testing, which is also the theme of my presentation, around how it really integrates GUI-based testing, which is your traditional QTP, and API testing, which is service test, but now it combines it into one powerful tool. No more separate installations, one tool, and you have the ability to test all kinds of complex business processes, right? So it's got a modern UI. It's got a user interface which is completely IDE-like, as I said. Also, it has got this UFT Insight, which I mentioned, which is meant to automate. Today we have a lot of these frameworks that are coming out, for the UI, the front end. And every day we got some new frameworks. And in the past, we were writing QTP extensibility to keep up with that and start automating, recognize the objects. The bitmap recognition was not really as advanced, but UFT Insight is right out of HP Labs. A lot of R&D has gone into it as to how you can take images and recognize them as objects so that you can play upon them in an automated test case. UFT Mobile, I'll talk about it. So the problems that we are solving again is to help you test complex business processes both at the GUI level as well as the API level in the same IDE, right? And that's very crucial. And it will become apparent to you only after you start using it. It's going to be available for download very soon. Okay. Moving on, here's just a quick slide on how UFT Insight really works, and you can see the script at the top and how it recognizes a particular object as an image. And then it also has advanced graphical editing capabilities that you can play upon to make your script more robust. Switching gears to API testing, you've got a lot of service-oriented architectures out there. You got REST APIs. You got all kinds of database calls to make to test in a test case, JSON-based. Then even in an SAP environment, IDOCs, RFCs. These are all headless testing for which there were challenges being posed. Now, today, if you were to test a complex SAP business process, there are a lot of steps that you would automate at the front end, but then you would still go and make some calls at the back end to validate stuff. Now you can actually organize everything as a business process flow and make your test more comprehensive, make automation more pervasive, and be able to test using one single tool for GUI and API. I keep stressing on that. Okay, so next let me talk about business process testing. Now this is the framework. So if you look at the test maturity model, the logical advancement from automation, simple automation, is to actually have a framework. And we noticed that in the market, people were actually writing their own frameworks. While they were using QTP as the automation engine, a lot of customers out there were actually building their own frameworks. They were writing it in Excel or some macros to work according to their needs. So that framework around BPT that existed in Quality Center did not integrate that well with QTP. But now with new capabilities to even define business process components within the QTP environment or within the UFT environment is a big leap forward. Right? It gives you this ready-made framework on which you can start automating your test cases and integrate everything into the ALM or the Quality Center framework, starting from requirements, release management, test planning, defects. And also the one addition on the right side, which you might have noticed, is lab management, which I'll talk about. So BPT, as I said, it provides you the power of a test framework. Right? So in the process of reducing the pain of automation, reducing the maintenance work required in automation, a framework is required. And the framework provided by BPT helps you across the life cycle. It helps you right within the ALM framework and the UFT framework to work as a one integrated tool set. So that's where we're really trying to unify all the needs of the testing community into an integrated solution, because that's what's needed when it comes to collaboration between people, when it comes to reusability of assets, working in Agile methodology, and also giving you the ROI on automation. Okay, so extending this picture a little bit on both sides, I have UFT Mobile, which is the solution for testing mobile applications that I'll talk about. Turnkey, as I mentioned, is one of our partners, and we are OEMing their technology for the test automation framework for packaged applications, which relies on BPT. I'll spend a minute on service virtualization, and then we'll move on to DevOps. So yes, mobile. When it comes to mobile, we have a variety of OSs, we have a variety of devices, and it is the complexity around the permutations of OS and devices, which is the major challenge, right? So does your mobile test lab look like this, right? I mean, anybody who's trying to test mobile applications is actually trying to set up a lab, something like this, to be able to be sure that the application works under all circumstances, OSs, so on and so forth. So UFT Mobile is a solution that we have partnered with Perfecto Mobile again, and we are a OEM of this technology. We work very closely with their R&D. This supports real as well as real devices as well as emulators, and it's a cloud-based service. So essentially, Perfecto is hosting the devices in the cloud so that you don't have to set up these hundreds of devices in your environment. and they are leveraging QTP as the automation engine. So one tool, UFT/QTP, as your automation engine for headless, GUI, mobile is what we are talking about. And the solution that is provided from HP actually comprises a combination of a private cloud solution and a public cloud solution. Private cloud for customers who do not want to expose their applications outside the network as yet. It's still in development and testing, and they will host the number of devices that you order in a private cloud, which will be connected to your network. They are dedicated to you 24/7. And the Perfecto's regular public cloud model is a shared service. You rent it by the hour, I believe, and that's also part of the bundle that you buy, as HP UFT Mobile. So this is complete automated mobile testing solution from HP. Now let's talk about service virtualization. Virtualization again was, we heard about virtualization in some of the earlier presentations, because in this world of composite applications, a lot of times you are developing applications that are hosted on the internet, are consumed by third parties. Stubs, or they keep creating stubs, or they, the payment gateway exposes a test environment for a limited window, and then they have to, any changes to that. Plus, when you have to test a lot of test cases, the data model itself can be different. I mean, what if you're paying with a debit card versus if you're paying with a credit card? How is it going to behave? So with UFT 11.5, we have integrated it with service virtualization. This is a product we launched a couple of years back. But now with this integration, you can actually pick a data model that you want the virtualized service to behave in your functional test that you're executing using UFT. Same thing with load runner. When you're doing service virtualization of a particular service, a third-party service, say a payment gateway, and your application, let's say you have an SLA to respond within 5 seconds for the payment transaction, how are you going to test this application when the payment gateway behaves differently, whether it gives you a 2-second response time or a 5-second response time? So the performance modeling of the virtualized service is again directly integrated from load runner. So I know I covered it in a very short period of time, but essentially the essence is that the testing solutions, both UFT and load runner, are completely integrated into the service virtualization solution, which is something very unique that HP brings to the table. And also it's now got support for all kinds of new technologies. It's got support for mainframe virtualization, COBOL, etc. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is DevOps, and this is where we start moving beyond just testing, but we are talking about an area where the whole release cycle might be in the agile fashion, and you are starting to build up these releases. But what about the release to production or even release to an environment? If that starts becoming a bottleneck because IT operations is not able to serve your demand because they have more pressing production issues to deal with, right? The purpose is not really solved, right? So if your releases start piling up at the doors of IT operations, the purpose is not really solved of being agile. Now, what have companies done? They have tried to create lab environments. There is a shadow IT team in some organizations that we have heard of. This IT team is specifically there to serve the needs of developers and testers. So looking at these challenges, again, we have come up with solutions that can help you automate the release of the applications into production itself. So, while infrastructure provisioning became really simple after the cloud came in and infrastructure was available as a service and you could click a button and provision it, but the actual deployment of the application is where the bottleneck started happening next, and people started coming out with application release automation tools. Most of those tools were script-based, and you had to keep writing scripts, and a combination of the operating systems and the middleware and the platforms that you have to support, that number started piling up in terms of the number of scripts that you had to write and maintain. So we took an approach of a Lego block-based model, where you could model a certain environment, a database, a web server, a certain middleware tier, and then the environment that it would deploy the application on would be learned as part of that Lego block, and you could then deploy that application in a more flexible manner. So I can't do justice to this topic in the next remaining 2 minutes, but what I'm going to talk about is how we solve this gap of continuous delivery by bringing in the aspects of quality, automation, and collaboration. So lab management is a new module that was released sometime in June this year with the release of ALM 11.5. And this module will help you do the recurring activities, whether it's nightly build verification activities in terms of deploying to an app to a test environment, executing the test cases automatically, taking up the results and publishing them back to the application lifecycle management tool is something that lab management does very effectively. And an extension to that is the portability of applications to different environments, whether they're traditional cloud, traditional environment, IT environment, or a public cloud or a private cloud. You can work with CDA, which is continuous delivery automation. It is the release automation tool that integrates with ALM. So within the ALM window where you're doing your requirements management, test management, you can also do your lab management. You can deploy applications. You can provision infrastructure and deploy applications on them in the agile release cycles, and save your, or manage your entire testing process within one single pane of glass, so that you have consolidated reporting, you have the predictability of your releases, you have control, and you have better response to the business. So in summary, I would say that you can test more, faster and continuous with the new HP Unified Functional Testing 11.5 software. You can speed up the testing of mobile applications without investing in a full-fledged mobile lab, and within the same tool that you've been using for your traditional desktop applications. Today you can test mobile applications. You can integrate manual and automated testing today with the integration of Sprinter and UFT, and support continuous integration with integration into build management systems, integration into CDA for application deployment, and infrastructure provisioning with HP's unified testing solutions.
Check. Thank you, Manish.
Okay, thank you everybody.
Very much, and you kept your commitment on the time.
Yes.
Like all the previous 3 speakers.
I didn't want to stand between lunch.
Yeah, between the coffee break. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, the gentleman up there and the lady up here. We'll go with the fastest fingers first, or the fastest arms first.
Hi, I'm Balaji from Wells Fargo.
Louder, please.
Keep the microphone. It's working fine. Just keep it closer to you.
Hi, I'm Balaji from Wells Fargo. So, are there any tools from you guys where it will do whole
Full light.
test product testing? I mean maintenance. Like for example, test data creation.
Okay.
So test data creation, whether it can be automated or not, and the maintenance of test data. Like if I insert a trade today, it will be in the new state. After it is processed, it will be in some other state. Okay. So again, if I I have to do automation testing. Again, if I have to run my scripts due to some code changes, I need to take it back to the previous state and then again start doing it. So are there any tools which will try to take maintain the test data at a particular stage, whatever we want? And are there any tools which will automatically deploy the code into, like if I want to do automation, somebody has to sit and deploy the code first onto the test environment. So if I have to do automation, like I don't want to be at the system, I just click start run, and if I want to automate, like for example, a code is there, it has been build has been generated. Yes. I want to install it first on Windows 7 environment, run the same Windows 8 environment, run the same script. So are there any tools to maintain these test environments on different platforms as well, without going for different tools for each and everything?
Sure.
Test data maintenance, test environment maintenance, all these stuff.
Okay. I'll answer your question in the 2 parts. So first, test data. We did have an offering in test data management. We now only offer it as a service through our professional services, and you can get in touch with us if you need any services, professional services around test data, but we're not selling any product, to be very precise, for test data management. We have some partners. Again, I think Infosys is one of our partners who's got a test data management solution. I don't know how it works when other people want to use it. Coming to test environments, that's exactly what I spoke about in the last part of my presentation, which is the CDA, which is continuous delivery automation, is exactly the tool that will help you deploy a particular application. So it will take the code from the build management system and deploy it on the desired or the target environment. And HP, by the way, is also one of the largest, or is the largest provider of systems infrastructure or servers, storage, networking, etc. So we are one of the largest providers of cloud system, and the product is Cloud System Matrix. So that serves up as a private cloud. It could be used in a public cloud fashion, whichever way you want to use it. But that can be the underlying infrastructure. I'm not saying you are limited to it, but you can take HP infrastructure, HP servers, and then you can deploy applications or VMs, whatever you want to deploy using CDA. And so I want to stop here. I mean, basically what I'm saying is that we have a complete integrated solution to help you actually deploy test environments, deploy applications to various environments in agile release cycles or otherwise.
Yeah, the lady there. A very quick one and very fast. That was a very long one. Yeah, please.
Hi, I'm Ashwini Palle from Pfizer. You said for UFT Mobile, you are collaborating with Perfecto Mobile for access to the actual devices on cloud.
Yes.
So we as a consumer of UFT Mobile, what kind of service model we will have with UFT and with HP and Perfecto Mobile?
So UFT Mobile will give you access to dedicated devices in the Perfecto data center. Okay. So these are perpetual in nature, so you have them, and I think one bundle comes as a cradle of 4, so they have these cradles set up in which they will put the mobile device, which will be connected either to your private network, right, or private cloud. It becomes a private cloud for you, or you also have access to the public cloud that they have. So it's a combination of perpetual, 4 perpetual, and then I think 200 hours of public cloud usage.
Thank you, Manish. A great round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Manish Gupta from HP. Remember that Manish and his colleagues would be available at the HP stall for much more detailed discussion on the HP test center and the offerings, and especially the gentlemen out there. Those are the more than a Q&A. Sometimes it becomes. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please request you to hold on to your seats for 5 minutes more? There's some important announcements. So Manish.